Hey guys, I'm Dan.
I'm Spencer.
Mike.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. Today we're taking a look at Shadow Network, published by Talon Strikes Studios and designed by Rafael Rosario. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly.
Sounded perfect.
Sounds good to me.
This is a 1 to 5 player worker placement game, and I would throw in resource conversion too because it's so important to understanding how the game works.
There's a lot of resource management.
Right. So this game begins as a basic worker placement game, and I'm going to kind of give you a basic introduction to the game before we give our thoughts. We like to break our videos down into sections. So first, we're going to do a basic rundown on the gameplay. Then we'll have kind of an open discussion on how we feel about the game, things we like, things we don't like. Then we're going to rate the game. So those will be tagged in the description. So if you guys want to skip to anything that matters to you most, it's easier for you guys. But right now, I'm going to start with a basic gameplay of the game. So I'm going to act like this is round 2 so that I don't have to say in round 1, skip a certain thing, right? So the first thing you're going to do when you start the game is everyone is going to get 2 target cards and 2 handler cards, 2 starter handler cards specifically, which have a red outline on them. Target cards are the bigger cards, and they're going to not only tell you the first contract you're going to be working towards, but also what your starting resources are, basically, which in this game is called intel. So you see, if you take the left card of your guys' left there, you'll get, is that a green and a blue? It's hard to see from here.
Green and a blue.
Yeah, you would get a green and a blue if you discarded that one and kept the other one, or vice versa. That little top left box there is what you're going to get from the card you discard, and that's your starting resources. The handler cards are the smaller cards. You'll also pick one of those to keep, and that one's going to tell you your starting engine, basically, you're choosing to do. So you usually want to line these up together. You'll see Jason there looks like turns some green into some yellow and some blue, and Bob turns some yellow into some green, if I'm remembering correctly. So by picking those cards, so remember on the one card, if you discarded one that gave you green, you might want a handler that starts with you paying green, right? Because you can get your engine going immediately. And that's the first choice you want to make. While they're up there, I might as well describe that on the bottom of the handler cards are how many uses they have. So it looks like Jason has 4 uses and Bob has 2 uses. By the way, I'm saying Jason and Bob because, as you can see, that is not only one of our hosts, but also the host of Board Game Mechanics, a friend of the show. So they made it into the game. That is so cool. It was
awesome.
one of the pledge options on Kickstarter. That is my favorite thing in games, is when you can get something about yourself in the game, whether it's you, your name, a creature you design, right? I love that kind of stuff. So shout out to Talon Strikes for doing something that I just think is super cool.
Okay.
But pretty okay. But once you get your target and handler card selected, the game can begin. The first thing that happens in a round is the black market phase. There's going to be these black market tokens out right here, and that is going to be decided by this deck right here is going to start, and you're going to flip over some cards, and they have city names at the bottom. And you're just going to put the black market ones in those cities. Once that card has been used, it is out of the game, so you can kind of keep track of, okay, Mexico City's not going to have it again for the rest of the game. Just a little knowledge for you there. Then the rest of the deck is going to sit here. The first player then is going to take a worker. You have 4 workers in the game. You have 2 that are free. So let me find Spencer's red guys here. You'll have 2 that are free, which will be on your phone here. And you have these 2 in these sections, which you can pay for each round. So I would take a worker and I put it out. You understand how that works. The first thing you get is whatever's on the printed art right here. So in this case, I would get 2 green intel. Then I get whatever's on the card, which in this case would be a yellow intel and a purple intel. All that comes back to my board. It's important to note now that if you ever can't take any, like if you're full up of resources or you get filled up in the middle of a turn, you have to stop taking them. You can't take any more. There is no, okay, take everything you can, then discard down to 12. That's not how it works. Once you're full, you're full. You can choose the order of which you pick the items up, as long as you do them in the right order of, printed versus seeded and stuff like that. So once you get everything on here, you're going to seed the board. So you see how this works. This is a unique self-seeding mechanism this game has to try to make the board always interesting. And how that works is on this position, this has a influence, and it says put it on any B location. Well, that's a B location, and that's a B location. In this player count, this location is not used. So I can pick, as the player that went there, either of these locations and put that there. And then same thing here. I would take a green intel and put it on one of the D locations. By doing this, you're making the other locations more interesting to go to. So you're either putting them on yourself so that people have to come to you, because if an enemy worker goes to your spot, they have to pay you. You can go where other workers are. You just have to pay them.
But you can't go to your own.
But you can't go to your own.
Important.
So by putting resources on yourself, you're making people have to pay you in order to get them. Or if you know that you're the last action this round and you know when you're going next round, you can try to set up a future move, right? So the location cards are these cool see-through plastic cards that at the beginning of the game, you pick a side. They're all A and B, and you take out a certain amount because of player count, and you'll fill the entire board just randomly with them. They don't have to go in certain locations. And that's going to completely change how every time you play, how the board gets seeded. This time London is going to be seeding, Bs a lot, but next time this card will be in a completely different location. But after you're done seeding the board as described, if you're at a black market location, you get to take the 3 black market actions, which are unfortunately not really on a player rate anywhere. They're not hard to remember because they all involve the 3 decks in the game, but I do wish there was a player rate for that. The 3 options are this black market deck that created the locations. Well, guess what? Now the top of the deck has an action on it. When you go to a black market, you can, on this one, pay 3 influence to take 2 green influence, and you can just do that once. All 3 options you get to do one time. The second option is to take target cards. That's these. If you take 1 card, you choose 1 intel from the payoff box right here, and you take it. So I could take a yellow or purple. If I take 2 cards, then, well, that's funny. If I take 2 cards, then I pick one of the cards and take both options from it, which in this case is a yellow and purple, either way. Now, you might say, well, why would you not just always take 2 cards then? You get more resources. These cards have a penalty on them if they're still in your hand at the end of the game. This is a game about fulfilling contracts. These are mainly how you win the game. So you want to be collecting those. But if you have too many and you're not able to get those completed, then you're going to have a lot of negative points in your hand at the end. So sometimes you might want to take less resources to potentially take less negative points. The third black market action is the handlers right here. So you just take one of these, you just say, I want this guy, and you'll put it on your board. At the start of the game, you'll only have 1 slot open, and you have to add these handlers top down. So I'd have to add him here next. Now, that costs 2, as you can see print on the board here, to place him there. Once that card is there, I can use that action once per round. This is different than anyone who played the prototype, where I looked back and it was once per turn. It's once per round now, which is a lot meaner. But so once you use them, you keep track. That's how many rounds they have. If you're ever full up and you get another handler, then you decide which one you're replacing. You pay the correct amount. If I'm replacing the top one, I pay 1. If I'm replacing the bottom one, I pay 3, and so on. That's the game. The main thing then is actually off your turn. This is one of the things that's so fascinating about this game. So during your turn, you are placing a worker and taking the resources and going to the black market and taking those 3 actions if you wish. That's it. Off your turn is where the resource conversion comes in, and it's 90% of the game. So let's set up an example really quick just so you understand the basics. Let's say I have 3 yellow right here on my player board. Well, as you can see from this chart right here, 3 yellow makes 1 yellow briefcase. So what I would do when it's not my turn is I take these 3 and I spend them back to the pool to add 1 yellow briefcase by sliding the yellow briefcase 1 slot to the right. That represents how many suitcases you have. These suitcases have a limit. As you can see, once I've built 5 blue, I can't build anymore, or technically once I've spent, right? 5 blue. I can't spend and build anymore, right? The white suitcases can be a little confusing, but basically they're there instead of going backwards with yellow when you spend it, you move the white one forward. So instead of going from 4 yellow to 3 yellow like this, I go from 4 yellow to 3 yellow like this, and the difference is, the amount of yellow you have is the difference between the white and the briefcase. That can be a little weird to get used to, especially because you're going to be making a lot of briefcases, so you're going to be moving these around a lot. But every time you make a briefcase, there's a lot of stuff that procs. The first thing is every single briefcase has a set influence amount next to it. So when you build a yellow briefcase, you get 1. When you build a green, you get 3. That is every time you build a suitcase. If you build 3 green in one turn, you get 9 influence. That's just how it works. Then you have these boxes right here. When you fill one of these boxes up, you get the extra right here. So if I built a purple last, so I had a yellow, green, a blue, and then I built a purple, I would get 7 for building the purple, 2 for completing the column, right? So that starts building up exponentially. Then you're going to have these little dotted lines that are called milestones. Whenever a briefcase passes over a dotted line, you then instantly take a milestone action, which there's 3 of them. Gain 3 influence, which, by the way, is victory points. At the end of the game, your contract cards, your targets, are going to add up with how much influence you have, all this stuff. And that's your final victory point counter. Your other milestones are discard a card, which can be huge. Remember, they're negative points if left in your hand. So if you're like, I can't complete this one, you need to discard it because that can save you quite a few points. And the last one is complete a contract. You also might have noticed that's the first time in the game, in the description, I've said you can complete a contract. That's because there's only 2 ways to do it. Either pass a milestone or these other 2 workers that I haven't mentioned yet. You'll notice you have 4 workers, and you have all 4 the whole game, but only 2 of them are free, which is why they're on your phone. These ones, I have to pay the matching amount in order to place them. This guy's 4, this guy's 6. And then you get more workers, right? That's not too bad. The thing is, if you don't spend them, you get rewards at the end of every round. This guy's reward is just take 1 intel of your choice, so any resource. And this guy's reward is first upgrade an intel. So there's 4 tiers, yellow, green, blue, purple. That's their rarity. So you can go yellow to green, green to blue, etc. And complete a contract. That's the only other way in the game to complete a contract. Except at the end of the game, you get to complete them for free, but they're worth less points. So not using these guys can be huge. But at the end of the game, you are putting workers out, taking black market actions, bringing all your resources back to your board, and then while everyone else is going, you're turning those into suitcases to then pass milestones to complete contracts. When you complete a contract, you put it face down next to you, and you move the correct white suitcases over, saying that you have spent that. That is the game. At the end of 4 rounds, you tally, everyone flips over their contracts. You get to complete any still in your hand for free. You have to spend the resources, but you don't have to take any action to do it. You just spend the resources on there, but you'll notice if you want to put a card up again really quick, Mike, because I haven't said it yet. So it says turn-in points at the bottom left, and then in the center it says game end points, and it's less because it's basically saying, hey, you didn't have an efficient enough engine to finish that throughout the game, so you get slightly less points for us allowing you to finish it for free at the end. And then you're going to tally up your points. If there is a tie, the first tiebreaker is whoever has influence on cards only, not counting the physical one, like the highest contracts, basically, it's rewarding. And then the second one is like fewest contracts. I don't remember the second one offhand, but there is a second one. And then the third tiebreaker says still tied, play again and break the dang thing. That's what it says.
Love it.
So anyway, that is as comprehensive how to play as I want to go into for Shadow Network. We'll describe some more little niche things, caveats, and stuff like that as we go into our open discussion section. But for now, let's jump into an open discussion section where we talk about this game. Okay, guys, I've talked for
A while.
12 minutes straight. Is that what it is? So let's just hear what you guys have to say. I'm not going to pick turns. Just let's talk about this. What are you guys thinking about Shadow Network?
I really like that it has a built-in system to try to stop or limit the analysis paralysis that you can get, because I take my turn, I say my turn's over, and I'm still taking my turn because I'm now doing all of the stuff that's just on my board. But the disadvantage is sometimes it's not enough time and it gets back around to me, and this is a thinky game. This is a, if I do that, I have to spend 4 points. Am I able to get 5 points out of that? You know,
it's a combo game for sure.
It is definitely a combo game, and it's one where you can get bad analysis paralysis. It could potentially be too much for a whole round to go around. That was what I thought about that anyway.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a very crunchy game. It kind of takes what Space Base, right? Space Base has that whole, or Machikoro, right? Where you're doing a little bit on your turn, but you're trying to build it up so that you're doing way more when it's not your turn. And they took that same idea and obviously won it in a worker placement game. So yeah, the game is not on your turn.
Yeah, I think this game allows you to do more when it's not your turn than maybe any game I've ever seen. There is zero downtime. None. I've seen a lot of games advertise that. And even some games that have simultaneous play, like we were talking about Planet Unknown, which we're both huge fans of.
Amazing.
And it's one person picks their tile, places it, everybody else can grab their tile and start placing it. But you'll still get that one person. It's like, let me spin it around, and you're waiting on someone. This, it's like once you place that worker and you gain your intel, okay, now I have all this stuff I can do, and it is very common. It was almost every turn of the game where it would come back to me. It's my turn to place, and I'm still running conversions. It's like I am literally playing this game the entire time of the, I believe, roughly
Slightly
hour
over,
30. Little over hour 30 it took us to play it, and that was a learning game.
And if you finish your board, you can then start looking here and being like, okay, where do I want to go?
That's the thing I was going to say is there was some times when I was completely done with my board and it was like still Spencer's turn. And then that's when downtime would begin, except that there's so much planning ahead that goes in this game about, okay, which engine guys, which handlers do I still have available? Which spots are still available? I really need 3 blue and 2 green. How the heck am I going to do that? Okay, if I go there this turn, I can use the black. Like, there is so much then staring at the board and studying it that there was never a time where I felt like I could have like stood up and walked away, right?
No.
And like I was constantly thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Engaged every single second I was playing the game and never once waiting to do something.
And I would go so far as to argue, which, by the way, this game just came out, but I have 3 years of experience with this game.
Yes, you do.
I've owned the prototype since the prototypes were released, and I have played it a lot
Humble
in the last
brag.
3 years. No, I'm just saying, this isn't like I kind of think I have played this game in an intense amount of times. And I would go so far as to say that if you're finding downtime in the game, you're not building your engine efficiently.
That's very
enough.
true.
You know, like you need to think ahead further and plan that engine out. And I'm not saying you're playing it wrong. That's totally fine. If you like a more relaxed game and you see something stressful like this and you want to kind of, hand the wheel off to someone else and just be like, I'll think about it when it gets to my turn, as long as it doesn't ruin everyone else's game, right? That is totally fine. I'm just saying that I don't think the argument of there is downtime would hold any water to me. That's all I'm saying.
But you do have to pay attention to what other people are doing. At one point, I had built all these things in a suitcase because I was planning on taking something, and then when I got there, it was gone. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Other people have turns.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there is at least some player interaction with taking spots that you want, or some of those cards that people want. So at least there's some, hey, I took something you want, which is kind of indirect player interaction, but that's fine. I mean, I don't even mind multiplayer solitaire games. The one thing that impressed me a lot about this is that learning it is not that hard. I would say it's medium, maybe medium light. That's pushing it. But the crunchy decisions are vast compared to the rule set.
Right.
And that's pretty impressive. Like, I mean, there were a lot of crunchy decisions to be made considering how fast we were able to learn this game. And like a turn is kind of like, okay, I'm going to go there and I'm going to get a green and a purple. But then, like, okay, Spencer might want that spot, so I don't want to see that spot. Then I'm going to take my green and my purple. I'm going to plug it into this guy, and then I'm going to convert him. And then when it's not my turn, all right, I'm going to make this suitcase and then also build this suitcase. This suitcase is going to give me a milestone. And then so now I can complete this one without having to spend my money and get that free action. I also just got some more influence out of that. I may not be able to finish this card, so why don't I go ahead and discard it so it doesn't cost me points at the end of the game? That's just one basic idea of a turn.
And then while you're thinking about that, hey, Mike, it's your turn. And you're like,
again? Again? There was so many
I'm not
times
done with my last turn.
You'll never hear me say this again. I'm going to say it. I said it before. I'll go ahead and say it again. Spencer, stop going so fast. I don't even know what I want to do yet.
I love it.
I'm still converting resources. That was a good feeling.
Yeah, I really like, this isn't original this at all, but I really like how you can go where other people are, you just have to pay them an influence, which is technically giving them a victory point, right?
Yeah.
Now they'll probably
It's a
spend
2-point
that
swing
point.
because you're giving up a big
Right.
point.
Yeah.
So that's why in the beginning you want to try to see if you can take those black market spots,
Right.
Because other people are going to want to go there.
Yeah, the two things you're going to see a lot is the first players in rounds are going to take black market spots unless there's amazingly seeded other positions, which again is a reason why you might seed other spots. I really want to go to that black market spot. I cannot afford to pay anyone else because how much money I have is how much I need to spend at the black market. So I'm going to throw every good I can over in that corner so that Spencer goes there instead so that I have the black market alone, right? So you're going to see a lot of that, and you're going to see a lot of building up spots that you want to go to that other people won't. Again, like you're looking around and you're saying, okay, Spencer has a lot of green resources right now. Okay, well, if he has green resources, he can't be building a yellow-blue suitcase. I need a yellow-blue suitcase, so I'll throw this yellow in this spot over here that has blue. That's very tempting if you need yellow and blue. If you don't need it, it's useless.
Yep.
And so you can really plan ahead with this seeding. I love the seeding mechanism in this game. Having a worker place a game where you go somewhere and then make other spots better that then other people will go to make other spots better. I'm amazed I haven't seen that more.
And that's happening every time.
Right.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time I've seen seeding in boards, but this might be the best implementation of it I've seen.
I really like the seeding.
like it.
Yeah, I've only seen it like Lords of Waterdeep, for example. You got some intrigue cards that'll pull out, and you can seed the board. But it's very rare, and it's only if you pull the right intrigue card.
Right. And
This is every single time.
the game engine relies on it.
Yeah.
It even gives the first player an extra point because he's seeding the board for the rest of the players.
I love it. This might be the only game I've ever played where the first player starts with more resources than everyone else. It's not like it matters, but it's just funny. I just
Because,
like that.
yeah,
every time I
technically-
teach the game, one person goes, I'll go like, hey, do you guys want me to start so you can see an example term, blah, 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 or, we'll schwazi it or whatever. And the first person will get the first person marker, and then I'll say, okay, and you get 2 resources and everyone else gets 1. And everyone goes, huh? Because that's not a thing. In every other game,
that's
first
true.
person gets less because
very
they get
true.
the advantage of going first. Not in this
I
one.
was the one that asked.
Yeah.
And I actually like doing. You were talking about putting resources away from the market that I'm on, so that I liked putting the resources on the market that I'm on to make
Right.
it tempting for people to give me their points.
No, yeah, I'm not talking about putting it on the market you're on. I'm saying putting it on a market, putting it not on a market that no one's at, so that you can be the first person at that market. That's what I was
that's
saying.
true. That's true.
But yeah. Anyway, let's see. Anything else? Dual layer player boards are fantastic.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, I can mention on the
Clear
rule
sleeves.
book really quick. I actually think the rule book is really well written. I did find like 4 typos. Oh no! But none of them were ones that made it harder to learn the game. Sometimes I've seen typos that like they'll use the wrong game term. And that is it makes it hard to teach. In this one, like there's the word player in there once, and the letter F is in front, so it says player, right?
I saw one where one of the words wasn't translated out of Polish.
Oh, that's hilarious!
It was great.
Just one word.
Just one word.
And this is it's not that big of a rule book, and it's only 16 pages.
And even though it's small, it's square.
Right.
Good
yeah.
job, guys. I like it.
But it doesn't take up a lot of table space because at least it's a small square.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, I definitely I like the ability with the deluxe where it put real people in the game. I like this art style quite a bit, especially the look on the player board and everything. That map kind of reminds me a little bit of like old globes you'd see in like
Yep.
your grandparents' house, and I like that style. I had a couple nitpicks I wanted to throw in
was
about
about
the
to ask.
components. So like the folders, like it's cool how they're thematic and they're like your Intel folder, and it makes sense that they're a folder instead of a cube, but they're like so short that once they sit in that, the dual layer board, it's almost sort of so small they're hard to grab.
You just
You
got
were
big
just-
fingers, man.
And I chew my fingernails, and maybe I have sausage fingers.
You were just doing one of those infomercials where the person's like,
I know.
have you ever had this? Oh, I can't get it.
Minor thing. So here was the big one for me though, because I'm big about consistency, and like you said, if you call one thing if you call something one thing in the book, then it needs to be called that the rest of the game.
Yep.
If you use a specific color for one thing, it needs to be that same color throughout the rest of the game. And this inconsistency kind of screwed me up a little bit. So this is one of the locations, okay? And at the top of that, that's one of those intel. That's supposed to be blue. That looks gray to me. That looks bluish gray. Whereas if you
Here.
compare it to that blue and the blue intel, the blue intel actually matches up with the card, but the location, that still looks gray to me. That's a completely different shade of blue.
It's a very washed out
and
blue.
that threw me off quite a bit at first. It's a nitpick, but it's a little weird in my opinion. That's my nitpick on the components.
I want to bring up one more thing that you actually brought up during the game, but it obviously wasn't bad enough that you're remembering it right in this section. But something that did make it a little, not difficult to teach, but it was like a speed bump that we had to get over, is that you're leaking intel to locations on the board. So
Don't
this
forget
one,
to do that.
so this one right here says put a green on a B, right? Well, we're playing on the B side of all the location cards. So every single card has a B in the top center of it if you're playing on the B side. So for new players, telling them, oh, you put a green on B, and then they're like, well, every card's a B.
Yeah.
I can see where that confusion is. I would almost have done those cards. So the board does A, B, C, D, and E. I almost would have had these be an F and a G side, right? That or something like
one
that.
and
Or
two.
even a 1 and a 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah,
Roman numerals.
Yeah, exactly. It was weird to choose A and B when you're already using A and B on the exact same board, to the point that this B is sitting on an A and this B is sitting on a B.
No, it should have been Boris and Natasha.
Weird. Okay. Weird design choice, but not game breaking. This is also gonna be super
Yeah, I was
fiddly to
gonna bring
people.
that one up.
I'll let you talk about it.
So you have a number of suitcases equal to the difference between your yellow and your white, or your colored one and your white, and that can be confusing. You're going to want to put more of the white ones down to mark, yes, I have more, but obviously you don't need to do that. Each one should only have one white and one of the colored ones, and you're moving them along. So when you actually use up all of the ones you have, you're going to cover it. And then when you buy a new one, you move that one forward and leave the colored one, the white one behind. But it's, if you're not used to that, it can be very confusing. It can kind of trip you up a little bit.
I should also caveat that I believe from memory, I've technically taught it wrong every time, but on purpose. Only that I believe when you have none, you're supposed to put the yellow on top of the white. Just because I think it makes it easier to keep moving it.
Well, you also had that great idea of when you're using one of your handlers, put the resource on top of the face, because you can only use it once per round. So there were a few times where it's like, did I use him? Put it around on the face. You're going to know.
Yeah,
I
and
went
then
with that every time as
and
well.
then at the end of the round, I slide
Yeah.
it from their face over to the spot to mark its venue use for the round. Yeah, because it is hard to remember.
You got to remember to slide it. I think there was one time where I forgot to do that, and I was like, oh. I'm just going to say that I used it because I don't want to cheat.
Yeah, I teach to put the white on top only because, to me, this is reminding me not to touch the yellow right now. To where with this, which I believe is how it explains in the rule book, this is me saying, so do I have one yellow or zero?
Covering
because I
it
can
made
see
sense,
It.
and I didn't find that part that confusing.
Yeah, I'm
it
just
is
saying.
different than any game I've seen with how you track your resources, but I thought it worked very well.
And if it looked like that, and then I built a green down here, you get everything in here, even though it's the only one there. You have to remember, it's a little bit different.
Right. You're saying if you hadn't built any green yet, and then you completed that column
that would complete
bonus.
the column, even though it's the only thing in that column.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to throw on here. I guess I can
We didn't do any
Modules.
expansions, but they
grab
did look
these
interesting.
really quick. So there's I think there's actually 4, even though I only have 3 bags here. But there's like 4 micro expansions. This is actually the solo bag too, so there might be 2 of each in here. But there's micro expansions that come with the game that you can choose to throw in or throw out. It actually says in the rulebook that it recommends using one at a time because of the complexity it adds. I've read how to play them all, and I disagree. I would maybe do 2, though. I definitely wouldn't put all 4 in because I see what it's saying. They are super tiny micro things you can do. One of them adds a dead drop mechanic that is just a new moving location like the black market. The one that's most interesting to me is actually the wire tapping, which is a deck that's going to it's 2 cards really, because it's round 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And so this just adds new bonuses you get if you go to a player where someone else is, because you are wiretapping,
nice. I
right?
like that.
So if I go here,
I give up a point. But I
you're
get
already
something for
here. No, I think it's they get something. It's making it more difficult to go where someone
ouch.
already is. Basically, there's a bunch of options on here. I guess I could do this. There's a bunch of options on here, and each one has a limit of how many times it can be used, and you just choose one. And you just say, I'm doing that one, right? And it's just free resources, free completes, free suitcase. Just get a suitcase, complete a suitcase.
Because
Very
resources are
powerful
tight
stuff.
in this game. Any resource can make a big difference.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And if you guys want us to do a separate video covering all of those and how they feel in play, let us know in the description below. So I think we're going to jump into our scoring right now. But before that, we do have a note about our Patreon.
Hi guys, this is Bob from the Board Game Rundown. We started our own Patreon, and for just $5 a month, you can help keep our shelves stocked full of board games for you guys to watch us play and review and preview for you. So please, go to our Patreon page, sign up, help whatever you can, and we hope to see you more. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're going to rate this game, and I don't have to explain that today. So, Mike, I'm going to make you do
Nice.
it.
Ooh, we rate games from 1 to 10. We're all going to give it a score. We're going to add them together, and we're going to give you an average. That average is what we put on BGG, Discord, or anywhere you want to hear the average. But if you like one of our thoughts more than the others, you get our individual scores as well.
Yep.
Yep. I'm just going to go right off the bat because my score is the least interesting, I think, because I've been playing this game for 3 years. Everyone knows I love it. I would go so far as to say this is my second favorite worker placement game.
Wow.
This doesn't beat out Dune Imperium. Dune Imperium might be a perfect game. Sorry, Talon Strikes, but you came in second. But this is probably my second favorite worker placement game.
Nice.
I love this game. I've been playing a prototype copy, waiting for this to deliver. I'm so glad it's here. I'll say something at the very end. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I love this
Nice.
game. I'm not expecting them to go that high, but we'll see. You guys, I don't care the order,
Okay, I'll
man.
go next.
Go
Unless
for
you
it.
really want to. No, okay. So, I think if I play this a few more times, all of the little complaints I have will be gone. You'll get all the stuff. It'll be much more interesting because I'll have figured out better strategies. So I'm going to give this one an 8.5.
Wow. Okay. So unfortunately, if I play this more, the blues still won't match. But no, this is a good game though. This is one if you want to see an interesting take on worker placement and resource conversion, I absolutely recommend you check this one out. The way this combines them and gives you zero downtime and something to do constantly is really neat. The thinkiness of this makes me not want to play it a lot though. Like this is a situational game.
I get it.
And I appreciate how the rule set is not that heavy and there's just so much to consider on your turn, and I like that. So because I recommend it, it's not one I want to go out and buy and play all the time, so I'm falling at a 7.5. I think it's a really good game, though. So that means if you average our scores together, this gets a very solid 8.3.
Nice.
8.3 for Shadow Network. I just want to say, Talon Strikes, you guys hit it out of the park.
It's a
you've
solid
known
game.
You've known that for me for a while, though. A couple small things I wanted to add on because I forgot to mention this earlier. This is the deluxe edition. So some of the components, the money in the game, the black market tokens, they are normally chits. I have them at home, and here they are wooden. And then the other thing is that I just wanted to say, because I hadn't said it yet, I say this all the time. Just to me, this game takes the best element of space and the best element of century, and it puts it in a worker placement game. And I just think they hit it out of the park with that.
That's a good comparison. You know what? I'm just sitting here looking at these chunky influence tokens, and I don't know if they mentioned, but I like these influence tokens a lot. They're just really nice, chunky pieces of wood.
Yeah, I like the suitcases.
Yeah, a little screen print or whatever that's called. Okay, guys, so that was an 8.3, right? My memory's garbage.
Yep.
So let us know what you guys think in the description below. If you have a chance to play this, does this make you more interested in playing it? And then don't forget to let us know, A, if you want us to cover the little micro expansions, but also B, and more importantly, I think, I am beginning to write a how to play for this game. But how to plays take a lot of time to write and film and edit and release. And so I'd really like to hear from you guys if you guys want that. Do you guys want to see how to play for this video? Or do you think you get the basic gist of it? Let us know. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you found this video helpful, that helps us. So, you know, scratch our back, and we try to scratch yours as best we can.
Yep, join our Discord.
Yeah, we have all these links in the description. We have a Facebook, a Discord, everything for you guys. So get a hold of us. We will talk to you. We will be at Origins. I don't know if this video, when it's coming out, but we'll be at Origins, booth 311. So stop by and see us if that. No, not 311. 311 is the other one. 831.
But
311 is bridge fulfillment.
If this video comes out in 2 weeks, thanks for seeing us at Origins.
Yeah, 311 is bridge fulfillment, who is someone we're
going to go see.
Yeah,
friend of the show.
Friend
go
of the
see
show.
him.
So thank you very much for watching. From the Board Game Rundown, I've been Dan.
I'm Spencer.
Mike.
And this was Shadow Network. I always confuse the publisher's name with the title. We'll see you guys next time.